News Now update. Joining me is John Hook. John, we are awaiting President Obama's remarks from Detroit. He's expected to talk about manufacturing, job growth in the automotive industry.
Well, you know, this is all a preview and a setup to a State of the Union on January 20th. So the president will be doing that. He'll be coming here, flying here to Arizona, and you know, the stops in Tennessee as well. So the president kind of he's back on the campaign trail in a way. And in this sense, he's campaigning for his State of the Union and trying to lay out his agenda with a hostile Congress. The Republican-controlled Congress definitely has their own ideas. And obviously we saw the first salvo in that yesterday. When the Congress was sworn in, they've made Keystone Pipeline a key issue. I talked about this on Facebook yesterday and got some great responses to it. So much for compromise, at least in the short term. The president's saying if Keystone gets to my desk, the pipeline, he'd veto it. So that's an issue that the Republicans have said is very important, and already you have divisions. Now that's, you know, he's playing his hand, and that gives him a card to play for maybe some other compromise on issues he wants down the line. He probably doesn't want anybody tinkering, obviously, with his signature achievement, which is the health care law.
Right. I think we have some video coming in right now. I'm going to go ahead and check in to see what's going on. That is not President Obama.
People who are making sure that Americans across this country have voice. We are so excited to have them here. And I am so proud to be able to serve a president whose leadership has led to the revival of American manufacturing and a historic economic recovery. I am so proud. I am saying here to you too. You know, I love my job just like you love your job, and I love my job because I work for a president who every single day asks himself, how can we strengthen and grow the middle class? How can we create ladders of opportunity for everybody who works hard and plays by the rules? And I am so proud to be able to lead the Department of Labor, and we are doing everything we can to accelerate this recovery, to make sure that we invest in the skills of our workforce, to make sure that we provide training opportunities that will empower all workers to succeed today and tomorrow. I often refer to us as Match.com. You know, we match job seekers who want to punch their ticket to the middle class with employers who want to grow their business. And that's what we do at Match.com, otherwise known as the Department of Labor. And let me tell you one other thing I'm proud of. My wife and I own two cars. A 2014 Ford C-Max manufactured here in Michigan, okay? And our other car is a 2013 Ford Escape manufactured in Louisville, Kentucky. And as my Uncle John can attest, Ford Motor Company is kind of in the family business over there.
Right now you're listening to Thomas Perez. He's the United States Labor Secretary. He was appointed by President Obama back in, I believe it was January of last year.
In Wisconsin 102 years ago. And it's still in the family today. And you know what? I'm also proud of my roots in Buffalo, New York. I'm proud to tell you I grew up in Buffalo because I grew up about 20 minutes from the Ford stamping plant in Buffalo, New York. A plant that added employees, by the way, a few months ago. And I grew up in Buffalo because Buffalo, you know, it's just like this area here. We're a gritty town. We're called the City of Good Neighbors, and we're called the City of Good Neighbors because we look out for each other. You know, we make sure that everybody has an opportunity to realize the American dream. It's a place that knows how to take a punch. We don't know how to win Super Bowls, but we do know how to take a punch. You know, we know how to fight through, stop talking, Leo, I heard you over there. We know how to fight through adversity, and we know how to come out even stronger. And that is exactly what you've been doing here in Michigan. And I'll tell you what a difference 6 years makes, because you all know far better than me. In 2008, the auto industry was on life support. A lot of people were saying, you know what? We should cut our losses and let Detroit just hang out there and go away. You heard it. You lived it. And you know what? I'll tell you who didn't say that. That's the next speaker, Barack Obama. You know that. He knew far better than to bet against the American worker. He said, we are not going to give up. We are not going to give up on an industry that has been a pillar of our economic strength, that has driven so much growth and innovation, that has created so much prosperity and sustained so many communities for over a century. The president believed in you. I believe in you. The vice president believes in you. And look where we are now. The auto industry and manufacturing.
Well, this is kind of the
broadly.
typical lead up you get going into a president. So the labor secretary, Thomas Perez, right now in Detroit, and trying to, claim that it's a comeback city. You'd get a lot of different views on that, whether Detroit's really coming back or has made a lot of significant strides. They have a lot of problems, obviously.
Right, and I know that President Obama is going to, he's in Detroit right now, then he's on his way to Phoenix and then Tennessee, and I know that
these are very quick stops, by the way.
Yeah, the focus of each one of these moves is to address, quote unquote, I guess, improvements in the economy, right? It's Detroit, it's the housing market here, and it's education out in Tennessee, I believe, is on his agenda.
Yeah, and that's, again, it's all a lead up to kind of laying out what he'll put before the American people on January 20th at the State of the Union.
Right.
He's kind of circled back. I mean, he's gotten sidetracked with as presidents do. They get sidetracked with issues that they don't see coming. And, the job one initially was to try to get this economy back on track when he came into office. They did a huge stimulus program to try to do that. The report card on that is mixed at best, whether that was fruitful or not. And now he's got to circle back because I think there's still this sense, and he talks about this a lot, the disparity of income between those who are doing well and the middle class, which is struggling, and wages are stagnant or falling.
Right. So how can you actually measure whether the economy is revived? Because some people can say, well, there's less people that are unemployed, gas prices are down. I mean, how can you truly gauge?
It's tough. I mean,
the economy?
I think you've got to get down to talking to families whether they feel it. The numbers are one thing, but what families are feeling is another. And a lot of families still, there's no question, they don't feel particularly secure with what's going on. Wages have stagnated, and people are feeling that they are one crisis away. A lot of folks in this country feeling they're one crisis away from really being in a serious financial problem, if they're not already.
When do you think people weren't feeling that way? When was the last time in recent history where
2007,
people felt
before
very comfortable? Okay, before the recession.
During the halcyon days.
When houses were like up here.
Sure,
right.
yeah, and that was all a big bubble and a false sense of where we were financially, but.
So then where was the accurate
the government's
sense of
making, by the way.
Is it in the mid-90s? Is that when we were
Well,
in the
we've
mid-90s,
had good
late
periods,
90s?
we've had bad periods, but this has been a particularly tough period. And what's interesting, you talk to people, I think, I've even gotten on Facebook and talked about this from time to time. I think people have really changed the way they approach their finances based on what happened in this last 6-7 years.
Right.
I think that was a shock. That was our depression, our Great Depression. Not as severe as 1929 and into the 30s, but really it was a big bump for so many people in this country who lost jobs,
lost their homes.
Right. I mean, it was really, I think that changed the way maybe even your generation thinks about going forward. How much are we going to spend? Are we going to take on the burden of a house?
Right. That's
this has changed
so
behavior.
many articles about how millennials, quote unquote, they don't want houses.
That's exactly
they're not
right.
buying houses. It's all about rentals and not having those.
They don't want the burden. They don't want the weight around them of that and the responsibility of that.
Sure, because if you don't have that burden, worst case scenario, you lose your job and you don't have to pay rent anymore.
Right.
You can figure out where to live.
Figure out another place or move in with friends.
Yeah, you don't have to pay your mortgage or your parents, whatever it is. I mean,
yes.
Parents' basements.
A viable option and an often used option.
It's true, though. I feel like that's what's happening these days. I mean, there's so many.
Would you move back in with your family?
Only if it was a health emergency in regards to my parents to take care of them. I wouldn't go there just to live off them. I haven't financially lived off them since I was really 18. I mean, they paid for what they had to pay for my college, but I got a scholarship for college.
Good for
But
you.
ever since then, it's like, my mom, fine, I'm still on my family plan for my cell phone. And because I'm on a family plan for my auto insurance as well, so that I have a lower rate. So those are the two things that my parents still provide for me.
The point being, you've got a lifeline. And there are a lot of parents that are extending their lifelines out to kids who struggled during this period, couldn't get jobs, were underemployed. That's another issue that we haven't really even discussed. the amount of people who are underemployed. They're not really employed up to their skill level because they can't find a job.
Right, they find temp work, part-time work,
Right.
and then even if you have a job that's up to your skill level, sometimes departments get cut. You lose your job. You might be incredibly qualified, but because you're the newbie,
It's happened all across
you're the
this
one that's
country.
getting cut. And so I would say that people in this generation don't necessarily have the same opportunities
Right.
as other 20-somethings of previous generations.
Circling back to the president's visit, though, in these kinds of visits, he doesn't, unless he's doing a town hall, he's not hearing a lot of this stuff. He gets it through letters to the White House, which he refers to often, and he'll talk about those at the State of the Union. I'm sure he always does. But what we've just been talking about, he's not going to get a really good dose of that at any of these events. These are, for lack of a better word, almost campaign events. They're to sell his program. So it's a one-way conversation. He's not getting a lot back from people telling him their tales of woe. He's getting up and he's speaking and telling everybody the gains we've made. He's thinking about his legacy now.
Right.
He's got
2 years left.
He's got 2 years left. He's thinking about his legacy, and one of the things I'm sure that is on his mind is to make sure that this economy, which he inherited, is somehow back to a reasonable health. The U.S. Stock market has been obviously phenomenal last year. It's taken a little bump this week, but you can't read anything into a couple of days of moves in the market. But he's got to circle back and try to make his imprint and say, look, I rescued this economy. That's going to be one of the things he's going to try to put his stamp on.
Right, and I understand at each one of these stops, Detroit, Phoenix, and then out in Tennessee, he's introducing new programs that he's going to expand upon in the State of the Union.
Exactly, yes.
So do we have any idea of what these... I mean, I haven't heard anything.
Well, it's always a pretty bold plan when the president lays it out, and then what Congress does and what gets enacted is a far different animal.
Sure, because I know here he's specifically going to talk about housing and his plan to allow more Americans to own a home. I mean, if they want to.
Right.
So, I mean, we'll see, I guess.
But these trips, he really goes on the offensive here. He uses the bully pulpit. He gets out there and he says, look, here's what we're doing. And he does an end run around the media with some of this stuff. And he says, look, this is what we're doing well. And he hopes and prays that message gets out there and people start feeling better about what's going on in the country.
Right. I mean, you mentioned, going back to something you said a couple minutes ago, he's worried about his legacy. Right now,
all presidents are at this point.
Right now, if the presidency ended tomorrow, what would you say Obama's legacy has been if it was just the last 6 years? I just came up with a question. Sorry to prep you.
Thank you for that one. Well, the historians, they take a lot of time usually to try to grade a president, and it changes over time. Truman, for instance, was not thought very highly of early on, and as time went on, people realized the brilliance of a guy who was not highly educated, but really made some tough, bold decisions in crisis points. So to grade a president, it's very tough to do. But he definitely came in with an idea that I think without question swung pretty hard to the left, harder than we've probably been in a long time, certainly further left than Clinton. And he's approached it in a pretty bold way. Healthcare reform was a big one.
Right.
You're taking a sixth or a fifth of the U.S. economy and really turning it on its head.
Right, and we still don't know where Obamacare is really going to end up, I feel like.
We don't.
And we've seen it for 1 year
The
now.
verdict is definitely out,
Right.
and some of the really painful parts of Obamacare are coming, beginning right now.
Which are?
Well, some of the stuff that businesses are going to have, big companies are going to have to go through with healthcare costs, those costs start to become incurred now. This was all by design to get through his election. He didn't want the pain to really start on some of these things until he was through this, the election.
Mm-hmm.
Then some of the reality will start to set in these next few years, and some of it's going to be pretty tough. Some of it's in your next check. You'll see. You're paying for it.
What do you mean?
Well, there are deductions in there, and it's
I did notice
people
that
are
it dropped
feeling
a little
it. People
bit.
are feeling it.
Right.
So
Not
this
too-
stuff isn't free.
Right.
This stuff is not free. So we'll see what he has to say. I mean, obviously, I interviewed him in 2011, and a year out from the election at the White House. He was, as a guy, he was very, very cordial, very nice, engaging.
I mean, I think that's what he's known for, like being charismatic. That's his
That's
you know,
it.
That's
and
his thing.
He was very charming in person. I liked him. He was very warm and gracious to us. They treated us very well. But that was a real charm offensive heading into the election. So we got also, to get the real stripped away guy with the veneer stripped away, that's a tough thing.
I think that's impossible with any politician.
It's very tough. Very tough.
You're always sort of in politician mode, I feel like, as a public figure, whether you're the president or the governor or, you know, even a city councilman, you have to be on guard.
You're wearing it all the time.
All the time, because even if you're talking to a random person, you don't know what they're going to say to someone else.
Of course.
Or you don't know.
You're scraping together votes everywhere
and
you go.
everyone has a cell phone. You can record anything now. I swear.
Exactly
it's like
right.
you're always on
Mitt
guard.
Romney
Even in your
found that
home,
out.
I feel like. Right. It's just, you know, it's yeah, I mean, you have to be on guard, and I think it's.
Well, let me ask you. Let me turn this around for a minute. Do you these trips for younger folks? Do they mean a lot when the president comes to town? Does it mean a lot? Do you pay attention to it, or is it white noise?
Do I pay attention to it? I think it's only relevant to whatever city I'm in.
Right. Okay.
That's
So
the
when
only
you
time
were
I
in
care.
LA,
When I was in LA, it mattered a lot because he came to LA quite often, and
that's where the money is.
We had to.
There was the Hollywood money to go after.
We had to know because, you know, there was traffic. There's the Obama traffic, which people here in Phoenix need to be aware of later tonight.
Right.
It's 7 today, and.
Oh, you want some? Yeah, we've got some live pics.
Yeah, let's go.
We've got some beautiful offerings from Ford Motor Corporation. There you go, right next to the podium.
All right. But yeah, going back to that, in LA also, I mean, that's where all the fundraisers were, all the Hollywood, you know. That's where Obama hung out with celebrities, really.
Right, and the money.
And he had to fundraise.
It's a huge pot of money for a guy like Obama. That was a constituency that he's tapped into very effectively.
Right. It wasn't so much that Obama necessarily came to Los Angeles to have, you know, speeches such as the one he's going to give here in Phoenix. It was usually for fundraising, exactly. So.
Well, that's part of the deal, right? You need money to run for president, and so he would hit LA quite a bit for that. That's right. Well, the president.
The last time he was here, I believe, I was told Obama was here in August 2013.
Right. And I'm trying to get my time frame where the finger wag happened. That had to have been with the governor, Governor Brewer.
Right.
In Mesa, the tiff on the tarmac. That would have been, that would have been 2010, I believe, a year after Governor Brewer took office. So this will be interesting tomorrow with Doug Ducey greeting the president, because he said, the new governor of Arizona has said he will greet the president, which is kind of standard protocol on these visits. It'll be interesting to see that dynamic, and I suspect Doug Ducey will really extend himself, and it'll be a very friendly handshake, and I think Ducey wants to try to erase any any memory of that moment, which was seen by some as really kind of unseemly. The governor says she never meant it to be that way, but they caught her in that moment with the finger in the air, pointed
That's
at the
what
president.
I'm saying. It goes back to that whole thing. You're always being watched as a politician. You're always sort of, being observed. And
I talked to her about that last week, and she said, I don't know the exact moment that photo was taken. I know that I was trying to get his attention and tell him, come to the border and take a look for yourself. We want you to come here and see what's happening on our southern border. And so at some point, she did tell me that when he got off the plane in 2010, here's the president.
Oh no!
Is that file?
Old. This is old. This is file.
Pardon me. I thought we were just seeing him jog up the stairs.
No, that's just on another monitor.
Got
in
it.
case we want to show people what the
so many
president
monitors
looks
up here,
like.
Sami.
I mean, I could show
confused.
people like, this is what President Obama looks like. This
I
is
think
what
we're doing
waiting.
a shuttle launch up here. At any rate, when that happened, she said that he was angry when he got off the plane. He said, "I don't like what you wrote about me in your book, Scorpions for Breakfast."
What did she write?
She said that he was dismissive to her when she went to visit the White House to talk about. It was a brief meeting on immigration, but the president, she felt, lectured her and was dismissive, and she was not happy about it. And she wrote about it in her book. And you weren't here, but when I met with the president in 2011, I actually hand-delivered a copy of that book to him when I met him. I said, "Mr. President, here's some light reading you might enjoy." as kind of an icebreaker. And he looked at it like,
Bold.
where are we going with this? Well, I'm thinking they're rolling on every minute that we're together,
That's
so I
so
thought I
funny.
might as well make the most of it.
That was a good move. He can't
And
forget
she
that.
inscribed it. She said, my offer still stands. Come out here
Oh, you got the
and we'll
you,
have breakfast.
You gave the book
I
to
gave
Brewer
the first
and then
copy.
gave it to.
The book had not been released. It was being released the next day.
Mm-hmm.
And I called the governor's office. I said, I'm going to need an advance copy if you can get it to me because I want to hand it to him when I meet him on November 1st, 2011. The book was going to be released on the 2nd. So they got me an advance copy.
That's so
and I handed it to him. And he didn't know how to take it at first. And I was smiling like, this is just,
Well,
we're just having fun here. But I don't think he thought it was very fun.
I'm assuming he'll be a little happier to meet, I don't know,
By the way, just an aside, that
Governor
book,
Ducey tomorrow.
I wondered what happened to the book, right?
Oh, the book that you
well,
gave
the
him?
book, he looked at it. I said, she inscribed it. And we're getting mic'd up at this point.
Right.
And he says, oh, she inscribed it, huh? And I said, yeah. And he read it, and he closed it, and he handed it to an aide, and off it went. And I thought, well, he's probably not going to read it, number one. Number two, where does it end up? Where does it go?
I don't know.
Well,
Did it even
apparently
get
it
on Air
ends
Force
up in the
One?
National Archives. All the stuff given to a president
Really?
ends up in the National Archives. So somewhere in all of his treasure trove of trinkets and stuff he's gotten.
Yeah.
That
I'm just
book's in
wondering
there.
the things that the president has gotten over the years. Like, you know, I know this sounds terrible, but I think of my teenage years and I think of boy bands and I think I know that
Don't ever
doesn't-
open that time capsule. Shame on you.
I just remember so many stuffed animals being thrown on stages and things like that. And I'm like, well, obviously those are 12-year-old girls giving
Sure.
it to like a 20-year-old guy in a boy band. But I'm just wondering what obviously
Think
like
of all the
something like a
jerseys
book.
he gets jerseys from every team that
Okay,
wins
that makes
anything.
sense. And he likes sports. He's a sports
Sure,
fan.
he's a big sports fan.
That could make sense.
Yep.
But then I'm assuming that they're also, the
Well,
people
and at
who
state
dislike
dinners,
him.
at state dinners they
But I'm
get
al-
gifts as well.
Okay.
So they get tons of things that are
Right.
given to the president.
But then also, if you're not a fan of Obama, but you give him a gift, like what kind of gifts are you getting then?
Are you insinuating the thing I gave the president was not a gift?
No, it was just a book. There's nothing,
All right,
harmful or
we digress.
offensive about a book.
Well, the president is fashionably late here. When is he actually supposed to take
He
the
was
stage?
supposed to take the stage at 1:45, which is
Well, he's on Clinton time now. This is what Bill Clinton used to do.
25 minutes now have passed, which, it's okay. I mean, what's funny? We've brought it up in previous Obama coverage that we've had. There is a Twitter website dedicated to how late Obama is for every single one of his
Oh, really?
his appearances. Let me see if I can find it right now.
I would love to see that.
It's
That's
just
interesting
really
because I don't
funny.
think of him as being notoriously late. I think of Clinton being the one who was late.
No, it's called at How Late Was Obama. And
6,000
oh,
favorites.
you know what's upsetting? They haven't updated it since December 9th. Oh, well, that makes sense because then he went on vacation, so he hasn't made any appearances
Can you
since
be late
the
for
19th.
vacation?
I know.
Is the question.
Since the 19th, which is probably why there hasn't been any. I want to pull this up for people real quick.
Now we're still seeing Detroit here, right?
Yeah,
So the
for now.
podium, the crowd is there.
But I do.
By the way, if you've never been to one of these, this is well, it's always something to see the president. All right, there's no doubt about that.
When people hear
But
local,
boy, oh boy, the hoops you've got to go through to attend one of these.
well, I mean, the people, the Obama's speech tomorrow morning here in Phoenix at Central High was open to the public. People
Right.
are lined up. Some people overnight to get those tickets that were given out yesterday.
Doors are going to open at 6 a.m.
Tomorrow.
I'm sorry, 8 a.m. tomorrow for,
And what time
for
is
the president.
What time is his actual
I
speech?
think it's probably 2 hours at least of waiting before he gives a speech. And my understanding is he's only here about an hour.
For that.
He's
portion.
there and then he's off.
Right.
He's off to Tennessee.
I guess he's, spending the night here, but other than that, that's his only public appearance.
So if you're just kind of tuning into this, we're taking a live picture of Detroit. President Obama will start to lay out his vision for this next year. In the State of the Union, it will be formally done on January 20th, but today he'll start to point by point in this trip through Michigan, Arizona tomorrow, Tennessee, lay out kind of his plan to get this economy rolling and get people back up to a comfortable place.
Nice.
It's been a bumpy time. There's no doubt. We talked about that earlier.
I think while we're waiting, I'm going to pull up this How Late Obama Was
Okay,
feed
great.
just to show our viewers in case.
So right now he's about 20 minutes late, 25 minutes late?
We have him at 27 minutes late. These are all the times he was late in 2014, so 24 minutes late. Sometimes he was on time, 0 minutes late, 14 minutes. Actually, there was one moment where he was actually early, and I think there's like a negative in here. But it's just a fun
1
little,
minute.
It's a fun thing to kind of follow.
0 minutes.
Negative 5 minutes. Obviously, these appearances are spaced out, October 2nd, November 5th. Obviously, this person who handles the Twitter account isn't necessarily following Obama's every move on a day-to-day basis. As you can see, there's a couple weeks in between or a month in between. But still, I think conceptually, it's a really funny concept for a Twitter account.
Well, it shows you again that no matter what it is these guys are doing, somebody's paying attention to it. Even some detail such as that I don't think anybody would have ever compiled that before.
Right.
But now in the Twitterverse, you've got this.
Keeping an eye on Barack Obama's tendency towards tardiness. We use the most updated White House press schedule and the U.S. Naval Observatory master clock.
There you go.
Very
official.
specific.
Well, the thing is, the president arrives and then he's greeted by dignitaries and politicians and people who need a little FaceTime with him. And he's got to give it to them.
Right.
And sometimes you just can't cut the conversation off. It'd be unseemly, right?
Right, because that would make him appear as a bad person, and he can never appear in that fashion.
So that, he's caught a little bit, and that's what happens. And this happened to Bill Clinton quite a bit too.
Interesting. You know what? Actually, another interesting thing. Before we started this stream, me and I think a couple other people in the newsroom were talking about the Beast.
Yes.
What Obama travels in.
Yep.
And I was reading this article, and it just goes into detail about all these random things that are part
the security in his car.
It's like, let's see. Let me see.
Well, bulletproof glass, it's shielded with protective armor. It's basically a rolling tank.
Right.
That looks nice. Yeah, it is. It's a personal...
Right, here's some video of it that we have, file video of it.
Right, that's at Sky Harbor. I don't know from what year that is, but that looks like Sky Harbor.
Right, the fuel tank is sealed with foam so it won't explode even if it takes a direct hit there. Oxygen supply, firefighting equipment in the trunk. And there's a rumor that there's actually a supply of the president's blood, like a blood type.
For a transfusion if you were to need it.
Right, just in case.
Well, it's remarkable. Boy, in that video, that shows you how times have changed. The president looks quite a bit younger. That could have been 09. Ed Pastor, the gray-haired guy on the left, he's gone. He retired from Congress this year. Things have changed. Things have certainly changed politically here in Arizona. By the way, I was talking to my father the other night in California, and he said, well, what's your split in your delegation now? And because Arizona considered kind of a purpling state, right? A mix of red Republican
I like that
and
term.
blue Democrat. We're kind of this hybrid.
Right.
But it's really swung back to being kind of a red state in the last couple of elections. Yet the delegation here is split 5-4, Republican to Democrat. Out of 9 congressional seats, 5 are held by Republicans, 4 by Democrats. It was 5-4 Democrats last time around. So it shows that this state, even though in the legislature, in the governor's office, Secretary of State, Attorney General, all of these positions, those offices statewide are held by Republicans. Yet in these individual congressional districts, several of which are gerrymandered to a point where whoever's in there won't ever leave unless there's a scandal or a problem or they die in office or they resign. The split is very even. It's kind of interesting. So this state is kind of a dichotomy. You've got...
Like, which districts go blue? Do you
know?
The
blue districts are really the ones held by Ruben Gallego now, which was Ed Pastor's district, the guy on the gray-haired guy talking to President Obama there. Ed Pastor was the head of the Hispanic caucus for a number of years and a longtime guy in Washington. And he's in a safe district. Ruben Gallego just took over that district, so Gallego is safe. Kirsten Sinema, a Democrat, she's in a kind of a swing district, but she's playing that district right down the middle as a moderate and winning that race. In southern Arizona, it was Gabrielle Giffords who held that seat, but she of course left office. Ron Barber took that seat. Ron Barber just lost to Martha McSally. in the recent election. So that's the one that swung. That switched it from 5-4 Democrat to now 5-4 Republican in the state. And then Ann Kirkpatrick in northern Arizona, that's also considered a swing, but she's been able to survive the last 2 elections there, even at an unfavorable time in this last cycle with President Obama. Not very popular. She survived, so she's hanging in there. And then there's Raul Grijalva, who is one of the most liberal members of Congress. His district is very safe in Arizona and gerrymandered, heavily Hispanic, and he's there. He's a lifer. I've known that guy since I worked in Tucson. He was on the Tucson school board when I covered him in Tucson. So he's made an interesting rise, and he's safe as long as he wants that job. So Michelle Obama was on this trip with the president. I forgot that. This could have been when he did the commencement at ASU. When he arrived to do the commencement at ASU.
That was the video we were showing earlier.
Yeah, that could be that trip. That was the first commencement he did as president.
Do you know off the top of your head how many times he's been to Arizona since he was elected?
I really don't. I mean, he was here for Gabby Giffords. That was really one of his finest hours, actually. Handling that after she had been shot and so many had been killed and wounded in Tucson. That was down in southern Arizona, but he did a masterful job that night. He really did. He hit all the right notes, and it was brilliant. And the nation needed to hear that, and he did a great job. That night, I'm trying to think. There's probably 3 or 4 other occasions. I'd hazard a guess 4 or 5 times.
Okay.
This would maybe be the 5th time. And Arizona has never gone his way. You know, it didn't in 2008.
Right. Hold on.
John McCain was a favorite son, so John McCain obviously carried Arizona.
I think they just announced.
Are you getting a 1-minute warning?
I'm hearing something. They said something. I think he may be arriving right now. No, that's not him.
Good afternoon. My name is Mia Du. I have been a proud UAW Ford employee for over 17 years. I currently work as a sequencing technician here at Michigan Assembly Plant. Ford represents more than the vehicles that we build. It represents good paying jobs, and it represents the opportunity to build a better life. As a single mother of 3 young girls, some people wrote me off. But with determination, I wanted to show my girls that through hard work, commitment, and believing in yourself, anything is possible. With help from Ford, I have had the opportunity to pursue my interests in business. I am proud to have earned both my bachelor's and master's degree. Thank you. And I'm also pursuing my doctorate.
So this is just an employee.
Yeah,
right now,
but let's not
so
minimize
all of the opportunities that have been given to me.
the union
With this time that we
and
have
the president's
on this earth, such a short time,
wish
we have
to reach
make
out to
sure
the
that we
unions for
take
sure, and that was
responsibility to
part of the
use our
calculus
time
on this
wisely
bailout.
and
Let's
to
not
the
make any
best of our
mistake about it.
ability.
The
Here
auto
in
industry
America,
bailout, part of
we
that
have
was
so many
to secure
opportunities.
the unions,
And with
keep
that
those
being
people in their
said,
jobs, and keep the
I
support of the
now
unions behind
have
the
the
president
esteemed
and the Democratic
honor
Party.
and privilege
So, you know,
to
there's always a
welcome
political
the
calculation in these
44th
things,
president
and
of
When
that
they bring
United
someone like
States,
this up to speed.
President
the union.
Barack
I mean,
Obama.
this is all dripping with union stuff. So.
I think she just introduced him. Let me just-
There he is, yep. You know, I'm trying to get any kind of gauge on
Thank you, everybody. Give me a big round of applause for that outstanding introduction.
I think it'll be interesting to see if the president refers
hello,
to this
Michigan.
terrorist attack in France today.
Happy New Year to everybody. What was that? I love you back. I want to thank all the outstanding leaders that we've got here today. I want to introduce some of them. We've got Secretary of Labor Tom Perez here. We got Detroit Mayor Mike Duggan here. Senator Gary Peters is in the house. Congresswoman Debbie Dingell is here. Your outstanding CEO, Mark Fields, is here. Now, I have to say, I love the Secret Service. I love the beasts that they put me in, and that's what we call the cars I drive in, the beasts. So I like my ride these days. And it was made in Michigan, too. But I just had a chance to look at these new Mustangs. And I got to say that the Mustangs had a little more style, a little more flavor. Bill Ford is in the house. Surprisingly enough, we talked a little bit about Sunday. Now, listen, I'm a Bears fan. You beat us twice. But even a Bears fan has to admit that that was a little suspect. I had never seen anything like that before. I would have been pretty irritated. Were you irritated? Oh, yeah. But all I can say, because I'm used to saying this, I'm a Bears fan, there's always next year. And look, you've got a lot to be hopeful for. First of all, you got one of the best defenses in the league. Fine young quarterback, Megatron. And if there's one thing that you can take to the bank when talking about Detroit, is that Detroit always comes back. Detroit always comes back. And that's why I'm here today. One of my New Year's resolutions is to make sure that more Americans in Wayne, more Americans in Michigan, more Americans all across this great country, that everybody feels like they're coming back. And there is no doubt, thanks to the steps that we took early on to rescue our economy and to rebuild it on a new foundation, we are entering into the new year with new confidence that America is coming back. Now, you don't have to take my word for it. The facts are the facts. And let's face it, a lot of times, the media doesn't like reporting on good news. But every once in a while, it's important for us to hear some good news, not to make us complacent, but to give us confidence that if we work harder, we can make even more good news. So here's how we begin this year. Last year, 2014, was the strongest year for job growth since the 1990s. Since the 1990s. We've now had a 57-month streak of private sector job creation. We've created nearly 11 million new jobs. That's the longest stretch in our history of private sector uninterrupted job creation. Here's another way of thinking about it. Since 2010, we, America, have put more people back to work than Europe, Japan, and every other advanced economy combined. Combined. And let me tell you what's leading the way. American manufacturing. After a decade of decline, American manufacturing is in its best stretch of job growth since the 1990s. Here in Michigan, manufacturers have created more than 100,000 jobs, helping to cut your unemployment rate in half. So we're making more stuff. We're selling it around the world. America's the #1 producer of oil, the #1 producer of gas. It's helping to save drivers about $1.10 a gallon at the pump over this time last year. And the cars that you make help everybody go a little further on that gallon of gas. Thanks to the Affordable Care Act, also known as Obamacare. About 10 million Americans gained health insurance just over this last year. We've cut our deficits by about 2/3. I'd like people to think about that, because when they do surveys of like ordinary folks on the street and they ask them, are the deficits going up or are they coming down? Everybody automatically assumes, well, government spending and deficits must be going up. Deficits have come down by 2/3 since I took office. By 2/3. They're going down. And after 13 long years, our war in Afghanistan's come to a responsible end, which means more of our brave troops have come home and spent time with their families during the holidays. So the point is, we're moving. These 6 years have been tough, demanded hard work, demanded sacrifice on everybody's part. You guys know that more than most. Which means that as a country, we have every right to be proud of what we've got to show for all that hard work. America's resurgence is real. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. We got the best cards, and we are doing better than just about anybody else on earth. And now that we've got some calmer waters, now that the worst of the crisis is behind us, if we all do our part, if we all pitch in, then we can make sure that this rising tide is actually lifting all the boats, not just some. We can make sure that the middle class is the engine that powers American prosperity for decades to come. And that's going to be the focus of my State of the Union address in a couple of weeks, building on the progress that we've already made. But I got to admit, I've only got 2 years left in office. I didn't want to wait for the State of the Union to talk about all the things that make this country great and how we can make it better. So I thought I'd get started this week. I figured, why wait? It's like opening a Christmas present a little early. So today I'm here in Detroit. I'm going to talk about the incredible things that have happened in the auto industry and what more we can do with manufacturing. Tomorrow I'm going to visit Arizona, a state that was hit about as hard as anybody by the housing crisis, because we want to talk about how we're making home ownership a reality for more middle-class families. On Friday, I'm going to go to Tennessee, a state that's making big strides in education, to show how we can help every American get the education they need to get ahead in this new economy. But today I wanted to come here to Michigan, because this state proves no matter how tough times get, Americans are tougher. So, plus I wanted to see the new Mustang. Let's just take a minute and think about what you've had to fight through. A few years ago, nearly 1 in 5 auto workers got a punch in the gut with a pink slip. The year before I took office, 400,000 jobs vanished in this industry. 400,000. Sales plunged 40%. And then as the financial crisis built, we faced what once seemed unimaginable, which is 2 of the big 3, GM and Chrysler, were on the brink of failure. Now, this is the heartbeat of American manufacturing, right here. And it was flatlining, and we had a choice to make. We could have kept giving billions of taxpayer dollars to the auto industry without asking for accountability or change in return, but that would have just kicked the problem down the road. We could have done nothing, which some people said we should do, and let those companies fail, but think about what that would have meant for this country. The suppliers, the distributors, the communities that depend on the workers who patronize the restaurants and shop at the stores, all those companies would have gone under also. And look, the fact is, nobody was in a stronger position than Ford. Bill and his team had done a great job steering Ford through tough times. But Bill and others are the first to admit that you could have had a cascading effect if the whole supply chain in the U.S. auto industry started declining, then Ford could have gone under too. Plants would have shuttered. We would have lost this iconic industry, sold for scraps. And folks like you, the men and women who built these companies with your hands, would have been left hanging out to dry. And the communities you depended on, the school teachers, the small business owners, the servers in the diner, and let's face it, the barkeep. I'm just saying. Are you a barkeep or are you just waving at me? But everybody would have been affected. Their jobs were at stake too. And it's more than that. The jobs in the auto industry have always been about more than a paycheck. They're a source of pride for generations. It was representative of what it meant to get into the middle class. You work hard in this job, you could afford to raise a family, buy a house, go on vacation, retire with some dignity. You knew you were making something that people could count on. You know, it meant something. Every car you sent off the line brought you that step closer to doing the right thing by your family and giving something to your kids and having a sense of security in your life. So plants like this one built more than just cars. They built the middle class in this country, and that was worth fighting for. So in exchange for the help, we demanded responsibility. We said to the auto industry, you got to change with the times. Plants retooled, plants restructured, labor and management worked together, settled their differences. Everybody put some skin in the game. Everybody made some sacrifices. It wasn't just some. It wasn't just the workers who gave something up. Everybody. And that's how things work best, by the way, when everybody's in it, when workers and businesses work together. When whoever's in the boardroom and folks on the floor, they both understand they're in it together. And we believe that America's best when everybody's in it together. And we rejected the false choice that either unions or businesses could succeed, but not both. We said, you know what? What's going to work for that company is also going to work for that worker. And vice versa, which means when the company's doing better, then the workers got to get their share as well. And Ford rejected the false choice that they could either take care of their shareholder or take care of their worker. They did both. And the company benefited and America benefited. We believed in shared sacrifice, and that shared sacrifice leads to shared prosperity. Now, I got to tell you, I was talking to the Detroit News. They were asking, what was it like when you were making this decision? I just want everybody to be clear. It was not popular. Even in Michigan, it wasn't popular. I remember they did a poll, and in Michigan, it was only 10% were in favor. And, you know, you don't have to be a genius political analyst to say 10% is not very high. And look, and it wasn't on my to-do list when I ran for president. I wasn't expecting to have to do this, but I ran not to be just doing the popular things. I ran not just to do the easy things, I ran to do the right thing. And saving the American auto industry was the right thing to do. Betting on you was the right thing to do. It was the right thing to do. And that bet has paid off for America because the American auto industry is back. Now, part of the reason that we wanted to start this trip here is not just because I wanted to see the new Mustang, not just because the American auto industry is back, but because last month we actually marked a milestone. Last month, the rescue of the auto industry officially came to an end. The auto companies have now repaid taxpayers every dime and more of what my administration invested in you. You paid the taxpayers back with your hard work, with your dedication. And over the past 5 years, this industry created about 500,000 new jobs. Last year, American auto workers churned out cars faster than any year since 2005. Ford has brought jobs back from Mexico, created nearly 24,000 new jobs across this country, including 1,800 new jobs right here in this plant. And after more than a century since Henry Ford introduced the moving assembly line, you're reinventing it. One production line for gas, electric, hybrid, plug-in vehicles. That's the first in the world right here in Wayne, Michigan. First in the world. That's always cool when you do something first. And you're helping rebuild the middle class for the 21st century. Just down the road in Lincoln Park, UAW Ford Joint Apprenticeship Program is providing workers with hand-on training in the skills that employers need for the jobs of tomorrow. And nationally, by the way, 87% of all apprentices are employed after they complete their apprenticeship program, with an average starting wage of $50,000. So the more folks we get in apprenticeships, the more folks are getting middle-class jobs. And that's why I called on last year for businesses across the country to create more and expand more apprenticeship programs. And since then, we've seen the largest increase in apprenticeships in nearly a decade. And now my administration is investing $100 million in an American apprenticeship grant competition. We're going to build on this momentum. We're going to expand successful programs. We want young people to see that they have opportunities. They don't all have to go to a four-year college. They can get an apprenticeship, save some money, start working. Build a family, buy a home, get some Lions tickets. Because everybody came together here and worked together. Folks are better off. And some of the most high-tech, fuel-efficient, high-powered, heart-pounding, good-looking, well-designed, fuel-efficient cars in the world are once again designed, engineered, forged, and built not in Europe, not in Asia, right here in the United States of America. Right here in America. So because of you, manufacturing has a future in this country. Manufacturing's actually grown faster than other parts of the economy. And companies are now saying, you know what, we got to get back to America. We got to relocate. We were offshore, and now they're saying, oh, America's back. We better get back in there. And that means because of you, the middle class has a future in this country. And the auto industry has proved that any comeback is possible. And by the way, so has Motor City. So's Motor City. A year and a half ago, Detroit became the largest city ever to file for bankruptcy. Today, under the leadership of Mayor Duggan, Detroit is charting a new course. Businesses and private investors are making big investments, including Ford, which is helping to launch a tech startup incubator downtown. New restaurants and stores are popping up. Residents are fighting blight, securing abandoned homes, cleaning up neglected neighborhoods. We're seeing stories of young people who left town for other opportunities, didn't think they could make it here, and suddenly they're saying, you know what, maybe I want to get back to Detroit, hoping to be part of the rebirth of this city. Now, this city still faces big challenges, but you're coming back. Just like the auto industry is going to have to continue to come up with new ideas and new designs and address competition. It never stops. We got to stay hungry. We can't be complacent. Just like America's got to still keep on working. Just like the Lions got to still come up with a little more work. But we're coming back. And one thing is for sure, we may not all root for the Lions, but America's rooting for Detroit. America's rooting for Detroit. We want the Motor City strong. And behind, the stories of plants and cities and economic data, it's people. It's all of you. So I'll just close with a story of a guy named Ramon, because we're rooting for guys like Ramon. Ramon spent 8 years in the military, served in Afghanistan, served in Iraq. Ramon here? Raise your hand, Ramon. So Ramon's somebody who fought for our freedom, fought for our security. But sometimes, we give lip service to supporting our troops, and then when they come home, they get lost. So when Ramon came home, he had a hard time finding a job because it was a tough economy. He didn't want to be a burden on his family. So he moved into a homeless shelter. Took whatever work he could get. And then one day in 2012, a VA counselor that he'd been working with handed him an application from Ford. Ford was hiring for new shifts. Imagine what Ramon felt the day he knocked on his grandpa's door, his grandfather who had spent 25 years building Mustangs in Dearborn. And Ramon was able to tell his grandfather he got a job at Ford. And now Ramon's got his own place. And now Ramon's got a good job right on the line here in Wayne. And every day he's doing just what his grandfather did, and he's proud. He's punching in and building some of the best cars in the world. If you want to know what America's about grit and determination and hard work and sacrifice and looking out for one another and not giving up, think about Ramon. Think about Detroit. Think about the auto industry. Think about the Midwest. Think about Michigan. Think about America. When our assembly lines grind to a halt, we work together, we get them going again. We don't give up. We get up, we fight back, we come back stronger than before thanks to the hard work of people like you. America's coming back. And I'm going to be on your side every step of the way. Thank you, Michigan. God bless you.
Well, that was interesting. Good to see you, Samia. Happy New Year. Haven't seen you for a while. The rousing applause here in Michigan, a state that I think Obama feels really good. That obviously, after hearing that he helped save the auto industry, and he's obviously out on this big mission to kind of tout some of the positives and some of his accomplishments. So that was kind of interesting, and that's just one of 3 speeches he's expected to give in 3 states.
Right.
Arizona, of course, being the second one tomorrow, followed by Tennessee. So we're awaiting the president's trip here, expected to arrive later this afternoon.
Right. He, I think, was scheduled for 6:55, but he did start
a little bit late.
But
he made up some time, didn't he?
Yeah, he might have cut the speech short because I know he's scheduled to depart Detroit, according to his schedule from, officials, in 7 minutes. I don't know how accurate that is now.
Well, and it's interesting. He's in the Detroit area. It's 9 degrees there. I mean, they're dealing with just awful weather. He's going
to come here,
arrive in Phoenix, and he may stay.
It's like
he may stay for the rest of the winter.
He might not go to Tennessee after all.
Yes, very cold. Really, that kind of polar, what do they call it? Polar vortex kind of striking once again. So it's interesting because we're watching him kind of do not the meet and greet, but shaking some hands and working the crowd. He's very good at doing that. Everyone wanting to, say hello to the president when they get a chance. And then he's going to be boarding the motorcade and heading out on Air Force One. So we'll be watching that land a little bit later on tonight, maybe about, like you said, 6:50.
Yeah, 6:55. I mean, we'll be watching. It might be a little later, but obviously we will be live here on Fox 10 News Now, bringing that to all of you. So obviously, yeah, he spoke about the economy.
Right.
In Detroit. It was very Detroit-centric.
Yeah.
I felt like it was a pep rally.
Well, I think he's trying to get out there and do that. This is the first week that we have a Republican-led Congress. They basically started working yesterday. And now today, second day on their job for the Republicans.
Right.
And instead of meeting with Republican leaders, he's leaving Washington.
Right.
And he's going out and trying to speak directly to the people. Goes to Michigan. He says, look what we've done here. It's not perfect yet, but we've made some big strides. He's going to come to Arizona. We were hit probably the hardest, or at least one of the hardest.
I mean, he actually previewed that. He talked about Arizona and saying it was probably hit the hardest in regards to the housing market.
Yeah, the real estate situation here was so bad. And I think the plan he's going to put forward, and I did a little bit of research on it, is kind of interesting. It's really trying to get some of these first-time homeowners to buy homes, because that is the area where we're seeing a hard sell. One, you have to have a down payment. A lot of first-time homeowners are younger people. They don't have a down payment.
Right, because, I mean, if you get an FHA loan, yes, you can only put 4 or 5% down, but generally speaking, you have to be highly qualified to even get that. So otherwise, you need 20%.
Right, and if you don't have the 20%, the PMI kicks in, the mortgage insurance, and that adds maybe
4 or 5. But I mean,
$150.
I think it depends on what your mortgage is and how big of a loan it is.
Right, but I think a lot of people are saying, yeah, maybe I do want to go into home ownership, but I don't have this huge down payment.
Right.
And now I'm watching my payment each month climb, and I've got maybe student loans, other issues, other financial loans I'm paying back, and I'll just skip buying and I'll rent.
Right.
And there's a lot of homes on the market right now, really nice homes here in Phoenix that are perfect for first-time home buyers, but they're not seeing them. And I was talking to a real estate friend of mine, and she said, I'm having a hard time drumming up first-time home buyers. They're just not interested.
And the other thing is, I mean, again, because there's so much land in Arizona and Phoenix, do the buyers tend to just buy a new home instead of perhaps buying something that's for sale?
A resale?
Yeah, a resale. I'm just wondering.
I don't know. It depends where they want to live. I mean, some of the newer properties are way out, and a lot of people don't want to do the commute. So that just depends. But I think if you've got good credit and you can get a loan, but you don't have a lot for the down payment, or you don't want to then have to have that mortgage insurance, I think this is going to be a big step.
Right. Or you might have the money for a down payment, but that's your entire savings, and you have no cushion after that.
Right.
It's like you need to always have that savings account, that cushion, just in case something happens.
It should save, from what I was reading, about $900, $1,000 for the typical buyer. So it's interesting, though, when he gets into town, typically stayed at some pretty posh resorts, and we have a lot of them here in the Phoenix, Scottsdale area. He is staying at the Point Hilton Squaw Peak, and I don't know if you're familiar with that. That's that place that you go when you kind of crash on the weekends if you want your kids to swim in the water park there.
I heard that when I did my research, like, it's known for the water park.
Oh yeah, the water park is insane over there. So you wonder, is he going to be hitting the water park?
Sasha and Malia are with him on this trip.
So it's interesting. I was driving yesterday through town. I saw this huge police motorcade, and I thought, "What's going on? The president's not coming until tomorrow." And I'm following this motorcade. I happen to be like the vehicle right behind it, and there must have been 20, maybe 30 motorcycles. And it was just this huge procession, and they turned into the Biltmore, and I thought, oh, the president must be staying there. But then I woke up this morning and found out, no, he's staying at the Squaw Peak. So if he doesn't stay at the Biltmore, I'm wondering if he might make a change of plans. He'll be the first president since, I think, Roosevelt.
Right.
Who hasn't stayed there.
No, Herbert Hoover.
Herbert Hoover, okay.
Yeah.
So
that goes back
he
to...
could be coming back again.
I mean, he has 2 more years to make his way back here.
Yeah, so we're going to see him. Do we still have him there? Is he still in the building at the Ford plant there?
No, I think we just have a crowd. Let's see the live look.
If he's taking a look, yeah.
It looks like it's just the crowd. I think he's gone.
So when he arrives here, when Air Force One lands at Sky Harbor Airport, Governor Doug Ducey, our new governor, Doug Ducey, sworn into office Monday, plans to meet the president at Sky Harbor. So I believe will be his first time meeting him. Definitely his first time as governor.
Right.
He will not be attending the speech, which is going to be held tomorrow morning at Central High School. And I think a lot of people in the real estate market, you think about the real estate market and you say, okay, lenders are going to be happy, but we have such a huge real estate market here in the Valley. I mean, you talk about people who do the mortgage lending, you talk about the realtors, you talk about just, it's a massive market. It's a massive industry here. So I think a lot of them are listening very closely to what's going to happen. If we can kind of spur things, we've seen a little bit of a drop. We had a good year in 2013. 2014, we saw a drop in some of the home ownership and housing starts, home buying, especially in those first-time homeowners. So I think what he's trying to do is say, what can I do to kind of spur that growth, to get people who are maybe interested to take a look at a home, to maybe contact a lender and see if they can get some financing and buy a home, get some of these houses off the market, So this is the president's out of the building. It appears in Michigan here.
Right.
Is this Flint, Michigan?
No, this is Wayne, Michigan.
Wayne, Michigan. This is Wayne, Michigan, Ford manufacturing facility there.
Right. And you heard him. I mean, he was making jokes about the real reason he came there was just to check out the new Mustang.
Yeah, which I don't see behind him.
Yeah, there's no Mustang.
Come on.
I mean,
maybe it is. Maybe it's back there.
I don't think those are Mustangs.
It's a nice ride. It's a nice ride.
Look maybe like a Ford Focus. I don't actually know.
So he spends the night here in Arizona. He ends up heading off then to Tennessee tomorrow, and that's where he's going to speak about education. So he's really hitting on some of the 3 things: manufacturing, housing, education. That sounds like it's going to be things he's pushing with this new Republican-led Congress, which he hasn't really made a lot of effort to interact with. Although next week, I believe,
is when
he's scheduled to meet with them. He's going to take that meeting with the leaders. So be interesting to see where they go with that, because the Republicans have their agenda, he has his agenda, and I have a feeling it's going to be doing one of these things. Not a lot of this. Well, I mean, but we'll see.
Yeah,
we'll see what happens.
I think one of the things, he was supposed to kind of briefly introduce his new plans or visions at each one of these stops, and the thing he kept emphasizing, I was trying to take notes as he was speaking, but he talks faster than I can write, and he mentioned how 87% of people who have apprenticeships end up with a job right after with an average salary of $50,000, and he's pushing for more apprenticeships so that people don't feel like they have to go to a 4-year university. They don't have to go to school. They can just start working right away and build that money and get that house. And it's starting with like a job strategy, I think, will then turn into the housing strategy. I mean, I don't know what his exact vision is.
Well, so many of the millennials are getting out of college. They came up at a time when the economy was faltering in a big way. I mean, some people call it even a depression, a serious recession, and their plan was go to college, just stay in college, kind of ride this out and see what happens. But the whole time they're accruing all of this debt. Right. So now they're getting into the working world. They can't get out of their parents' pad. They've got a ton of college debt. Their job market while improving, it's not paying what it used to pay. Right. So I think a lot of people are reassessing the whole idea of going to college. Do you need it? We've seen some of the most successful Americans, entrepreneurial Americans, who've never gone to college.
Or they drop out of college.
Or they drop out of college.
Mark Zuckerberg, founder of Facebook.
And so many people think they need it for their career, but they don't. I always talk about my kind of trajectory going off to a university, a 4-year university, but I learned more in 1 week in an internship at a real TV station than I did in that whole 4 years. So I think the president was kind of getting at that. Let's get some real world experience.
I think that's important. I think, I chose to go to USC because all they did was emphasize hands-on education, and I was choosing between that and UCLA. And I'm not trying to bring up the rivalry, but studying communication at UCLA was just more the theory of communication and like the grand idea of it, and reading books, not really having the hands-on stuff I had at USC. Had I gone to another school, you would need an internship. You would need to actually go into that newsroom to get that experience, because so often you just go to college and you study ideas of things and you don't actually get that real work experience.
Right. And I think what's happening now is we have a generation of young people who are ready to work, eager to work, but they are saddled with an enormous amount of debt unless they had a scholarship, parents helping them out.
Right.
I mean, really.
And college is getting really expensive. I mean, even the public universities, I'm not even talking about private universities, public universities, they're not cheap to attend.
No.
I mean, it's tens of thousands. I mean, I would say, at least in the University of California system, minimum at least probably overall cost $20,000 a year. And that's a public university, considering your housing, your board, and your tuition. Well,
I think, and he'll touch on that when he hits Tennessee.
Right.
Tomorrow he's speaking here, so we're gonna have the Air Force One landing later on tonight, about
6:55 is what the
7 o'clock, somewhere
says.
like that. So we may have some traffic problems as we see that. That's always an issue, because of the presidential motorcade. But the great thing about it is, if he is staying at the Point Hilton, which it appears he is, it's just a straight shot up
on the
to 51.
Right.
Boom, and it's after rush hour, which is perfect. I mean, imagine this happening at, say, 5 o'clock.
Right, and
we've seen that before.
Yeah, the president has landed places where,
Excuse me, I'm having a water break over here.
You can have water breaks. So the president, if he is staying there, he goes up 51 and I think exits Glendale
or Northern.
Okay.
Either way, there's kind of 2 ways in and 2 ways out. But
that's my direction, Mr. President.
It's gonna, that's how you'd do it.
I'm actually, because I'm here covering that later today, so I'll be leaving, I think, when the president is. I'm going to be the one stuck in Obama.
You're going to be stuck in it.
Yeah.
You'll be cursing and why is he here? All right, speech at Central High School tomorrow. That's going to be, I believe, is it 8 a.m. tomorrow? So we've got 8 a.m. tomorrow. He is going to talk about how do we expand home ownership, a big thing. We had in the 90s, when things were just booming here in Phoenix, they couldn't build the houses fast enough. When I first got to town more than 20 years ago, I remember at the time, getting your phone set up and your cable set up. I know this sounds very old-fashioned, but you would wait for weeks and weeks to get that stuff set up, because there were so many people moving here, they couldn't build the homes fast enough. So when the crash happened, and we're talking about a lot of these homes that are $250,000 or less, that are on the market. If you look at, I like to just look at homes. I'm just somebody who likes to look at real estate, and
I get updates from Zillow.com every day.
Yeah, there's so many of them on the market, and here are these people trying to sell their home, or they're trying to maybe move into a bigger home, and they've outgrown their space. They can't get rid of their home, because this is really a first time, an area 250 and less,
right,
where first time homeowners would come in, and when those people aren't there, it stops other people from buying a home that might cost a little more and moving on up. So it'll be interesting to see how this plan works, and if it really does get people interested. Does it get people to go to their mortgage lender and say, I think I want to get a home loan?
But and then I would say, as someone watching this, aren't you a little fearful, though, that we might have another housing crash? Yes, this might get more people into homes, but what's the likelihood that, suddenly there's going to be something where people lose their homes again?
Right.
That's, I think, the fear.
Oh, that's always a fear when you're jumping into a big
loan
and you go, wow.
Any sort of program, anything where it's I can't normally afford a home, but there's this program so I can afford it. But what happens in that moment where suddenly something happens and I can't pay that mortgage? And I think that, as a buyer, I don't know what Obama's plan is, but as a potential buyer. That's where I would be fearful.
I think, though, we're looking at some of the polls out there, and confidence, consumer confidence, people are feeling more confident about the economy, more confident about the security of their jobs. So as the public starts to feel more confident about where things are. Okay, I feel better about my job now. Okay, I feel more secure that I'm going to stay here, or I'm going to be getting a better job in the coming year, something like that. That is where, when you have that, then you have people starting to think about buying their home. So there's not as much insecurity in the economy.
Right, but to play devil's advocate, I would say the same thing. That was the mentality for people maybe in 2006, 2007.
Right.
Before everything, because I don't think any of us planned 2008.
No.
So,
well, when the credit market dried up, it almost felt like overnight. That's when it was
just like
panic.
okay. And I'm not saying that that's going to happen again, but I think anyone who went through that, I mean, would have a little. I mean, obviously, the economy, in my opinion, is better because gas here in Phoenix is like $1.89.
Super cheap.
I'm like, what is? I don't remember the last time it was that low.
Do we have a shot of the Detroit airport?
No, we don't.
No, we don't have that
We
yet.
don't have that right now. We might be getting it in.
Let's show
actually,
this,
I might get it. Let me see.
And let's show the video here of one of the other times that the president landed at Sky Harbor Airport. I don't know if we've got that video, and we've got some Central High School as well, the auditorium there where he'll be speaking tomorrow. To
Yeah,
I'm sure
I do
full
have.
house.
Let's see. This is which one?
Let's do this one.
Obama limousine.
Yeah.
This is just fun video.
This is just video of him landing at Sky Harbor. And it's interesting. This is an old video. You see the girls there, and he was traveling with Michelle, First Lady Michelle. And there's Governor Brewer. And I noticed somewhere in the background here is former Phoenix Mayor Phil Gordon. So this is quite old video. But this is one of his earlier, and you can tell he doesn't have as much gray hair either. We're looking at the presidential state car, also known as the Beast.
The Beast.
And that is basically, we've covered so many of these trips. The president's been here a number of times. And, we've covered so many of the trips. And it's always kind of a cool spectacle when you see Air Force One landing at Sky Harbor Airport. It is so cool to see that.
I mean, even Air Force One in and of itself is really cool. Like, I don't think some people don't realize what's on board that plane. Like, I was reading up, according, to the White House's website, and inside it's 4,000 square feet of floor space on 3 levels. There's a huge suite for the president that has an office, lavatory, conference room. There's actually a medical suite that can actually function as an operating room, and a doctor is always traveling with President Obama. What else? I mean, apparently the plane's 2 food preparation galleys can feed 100 people at a time.
Wow.
There are quarters for senior advisors, Secret Service officers, traveling press, other guests. I mean, it's a big, it's like
massive
a traveling
plane.
hotel.
Well, I've heard that former presidents said the hardest thing about leaving office is not traveling on Air Force One anymore. Can you imagine going commercial after that? It's like, it's not quite the same, squeezing into a seat and then, making way into the lavatory. There they have it's a full-on presidential suite.
Right.
So pretty posh travel, that is for sure. So that will be landing at Sky Harbor Airport this afternoon, later tonight, I should say.
Right.
And what a day. I mean, we're almost near
have some video
record
of-
heat today. We're going to meet maybe 78, 79. This is
Some file video we have of Air Force One. Just, I mean, looking at it.
beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. And we've seen this so many times landing in Phoenix, the president making a number of visits here. So this is the first one of 2015. It's interesting to think that, what are we, just a few days in, 7 days in, he's going to be landing. 1 week into the new year, he's landing in Phoenix. And I'm interested to see his interaction with our new governor, Doug Ducey, the Republican, because we've seen a lot of terse moments. Of course, the finger wagging, the finger pointing moment that he had with Governor Jan Brewer. So it'll be interesting to see the interaction he has with Governor Ducey and how Governor Ducey handles himself as our governor, our new governor. I'm looking forward to seeing that as Air Force One lands close to 7 o'clock tonight here in the Valley of the Sun. What a day look at that, Camelback Mountain in the background, what a view. I always love flying into Phoenix. No matter if I come home from, a fabulous vacation, whatever.
And you see
so
the mountains.
Nice. You see, especially if you're landing at night, you see these little areas where there's no lights and those are the mountains. And then it's such a flat city that you just see it goes on forever. Such a beautiful sight. Look at the people there lining up to see the president at a previous trip here in Phoenix. Many of them work at the airport.
At the airport. Right. I mean, it's a cool spectacle to see Air Force One in person.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I think that in itself is cool.
And look at it. You see all of the emergency personnel there, all of the fire trucks, the police officers. There's such a huge motorcade and a scene whenever the president arrives in a city. Mm-hmm. It's just amazing.
It is really cool. You know, the one thing that I did want to talk about that we were, I know that John Hook earlier when he was here was wondering whether President Obama would actually speak about what happened in France earlier today. We actually just, speaking of, have breaking news that we just got. Now, French police have identified 3 men as suspects in today's deadly attack against a newspaper in Paris. We were just talking about, 12 people died. A shooting that they've said has shaken the nations
and the world.
These people, 2 brothers, both French, and a 3rd man whose nationality has not been revealed, have been identified as the shooters. One official said the men were linked to a Yemeni terrorist network. Masked gunmen stormed the offices of Charlie Hebdo, which caricatured the Prophet Muhammad. And obviously, like from reports I've read, these gunmen they spoke very clear French.
Fluent, yeah.
French people.
Native French.
So it's,
Well, and they targeted these cartoonists, and it's just horrifying to think of that happening. I mean, It was a targeted attack. President did not make mention of it. From what I heard, I missed a couple of minutes.
He did not. I mean, I was watching the whole thing, and he did not mention it at all. But he did make remarks earlier today, you know what, I'm going to play that right now, because I have that here. It was President Obama's.
Let's listen in here.
Okay.
It's just horrifying. I mean, to hear the news of this massacre and to think of how, planned out this had to be.
I know, because, from witnesses' descriptions, they were saying it was very methodical. Mm-hmm. I mean, they forced an employee to open the door.
Right.
They
threatened to kill her baby.
Right, exactly. I mean, you enter during an editorial meeting. I mean, we have editorial meetings, and that everyone is around. I mean, everyone who works there is pretty much in that room at that time.
It's as if they knew that.
Yeah. And
let's take a listen to what the president said earlier. This is before he departed for Michigan.
France is one of our oldest allies, our strongest allies. They have been with us at every moment from 9/11 on, in dealing with some of the terrorist organizations around the world that threaten us. For us to see the kind of cowardly, evil attacks that took place today, I think reinforces once again why it's so important for us to stand in solidarity with them, just as they stand in solidarity with us.
Okay, so those were President Obama's remarks, rather. The audio was a little hollow, but he did refer to them as cowardly, evil attacks. At this point, we didn't know much about it because these remarks were made earlier. But I think it's safe to call this a terrorist attack. I mean, there's no question.
Well, and they've the news
linking it to
the news tonight is that the French police have identified the 3 men that they're looking for.
Right.
I mean, to think that these guys got away is absolutely
right. The
shocking.
fact that they just shot up a building and then left, entered a car, and then just drove off.
But we know, any big city, especially Paris, has, and we've already seen a lot of the surveillance footage.
Right.
They've got video, and they're going to find these people, I do believe.
Right.
And to think, the French people, to think that 2 of them were French citizens,
Right. These gunmen, I don't think they could have thought they would get away.
Right.
Well,
they did a pretty good job covering from head to toe.
Right. That's true,
right.
But I don't know, it's such a massive thing. I feel like, you get all your personnel on this one thing and hunt those people down. You figure it out.
They will.
With something as big as this, this is France's, I think, deadliest attack in at least 20 years, is what they're saying. So,
well, we are awaiting the president coming to Phoenix. He did not speak of the attack on France while he was in Michigan. Probably won't do it as well while he's here when he's talking about the housing, how to rebound from the housing crisis. And we're going to be on top of it, covering it live. Andrew Hasbin's coming in. I'm taking off. Andrew's coming in.
I know.
We'll talk with you a little bit later, Samia.
Yep. Sounds good.
I'm sending him this way.
All right. And I will wait for Andrew here. while he walks over, we're just going to have Andrew here. As Carrie mentioned, Andrew has been covering the preparations for the president's arrival. Specifically, the president is going to be arriving, or he's going to be speaking at Central High tomorrow. I know that Andrew was there earlier today, and we have Andrew here now to talk about, you know, all the preparations over at Central High School. Welcome.
Busy day there.
I mean, it's Obama Day.
It's a big day.
Lots of Obama, all the time.
It's a big day over there. Yeah, it's going to happen in the gym tomorrow, is from what we're hearing. 10:30, and they have. When we went to the high school today, the gym's pretty much off limits. Like, you can't get
in.
No, for obvious reasons. And Central High School actually got a few hundred tickets.
I think I have video of.
We do, yeah. That's, obviously,
Central.
that doesn't look like a very busy place right there, but it is a busy place. I promise.
Well, obviously.
See, busy. See, there you go. So they got about 200 tickets, I think, to the event. And some students got them, you know, teachers and other kind of official type people in the district are going to watch. And, you know, they're all looking really forward to it. We spoke to one student who's actually going to be part of a group of 8 that is going to be singing the national anthem for the president tomorrow, a cappella, with a group of students. So she's been practicing with all of the other girls in the choir, all the other people in the choir. And I think they're, you know, excited and maybe a little bit nervous.
I mean, that's a huge opportunity.
That's a huge
opportunity.
opportunity.
That's a really big deal,
Yeah.
like audience member. It's not
for
just,
sure.
It's not just.
We don't know. I'm assuming the president will actually be on stage when they sing. Don't know for sure. But, you know, if he is, it's going to be quite the audience member, wouldn't you say?
So, I mean, you did speak with people. Like, what sentiment did you get? What did people tell you?
They're excited. They're really excited. I mean, they know that this is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be able to have the president come to your high school while you're actually still in high school and be there and get a ticket to be able to see it. It's a pretty incredible experience.
I mean, every student that has the opportunity should go see. This is one of my biggest regrets. December 2006, President Obama, before he's president, is on the campus of USC.
Oh, really?
Yes. And my Annenberg TV News advisor,
my alma mater,
yes,
yours
Serena
too.
Cha, told me, because we were already off the air. It was already like almost winter break, or we hadn't been doing our student broadcast. She was like, "Oh, you know, it would, you know, if you want, you should go cover that. Maybe we create a little package. You know, he might be president one day." And I decided to like study for a final instead. Biggest regret.
Big regret. Yeah, that was a mistake.
That would have been, yeah. So that was my learning moment. When the teacher tells you to do something, you should do it.
That's some good advice, yeah. Usually they know better.
Right, and
and in that case, yes.
She proved me right. So.
The speech, though, I mean, a lot of these kids are going to see the president. It's a speech about housing, so they're a little young to be first-time home buyers.
But they can think about it.
They can think about it. It's going to be, we just got some more information on what he's going to be talking about tomorrow.
Right.
I don't know if you guys were talking about this earlier,
me.
but
if you have any new information, I want it.
He's going to be announcing that mortgage insurance premiums for FHA loans are going to be reduced substantially. So if you don't know what that is, so when you get a mortgage and you put a smaller down payment, typically less than 20% down,
you have to pay a PMI.
You have to pay a PMI, a mortgage insurance premium on it. It's an insurance policy just in case you walk away from the house, or
and you have to pay that until you hit that 20%.
Until you hit that, typically until you hit the 20%. The problem with FHA loans now is that when you go and get an FHA loan, which is a 3.5% down loan that is backed by the federal government, that's what FHA is. It is a mortgage insurer.
Right.
So when you go get a loan that is backed by the federal government, an FHA loan, you can put as little as 3.5% down. If you do that, you pay that mortgage insurance premium for the entire life of your loan, regardless of 20% equity or not. So that's one of the issues with FHA loans now, and people calling them so unaffordable. You can finance in Arizona. The FHA limits, I believe, are up in like the $275,000 range.
So is it different state by state then?
It's different in region by region. Okay. So like Los Angeles, where things are more expensive, has a much higher FHA limit. Phoenix is fairly on par with the rest of the country. So our limits, they've been reduced recently to about $275,000. So if you went in and got a loan today, you would pay. And say you put 3.5% down, you know, for the maximum amount of $275,000, you would be paying 1.35% of that loan every year. of the remaining balance on your loan every year as a mortgage insurance premium. So they're going to take that 1.35% that you pay as a premium, and they're going to reduce it to 0.85%. It's a 0.5% decrease.
So my question is for people who currently have a home that they purchased under FHA, does this mean their PMI is going to reduce?
That's what I'm
also?
trying to find out right
or
now.
Or is it just for new buyers?
I'm not sure. The way I'm reading everything that I'm seeing, like no one has said that. I haven't seen anything that specifically says current people who have FHA mortgages will get this too.
I think that's only fair.
I think that's only fair as well.
I see.
So, but the way I'm reading it, and I was just reading the White House's press release about it, it sounds like that, but I haven't seen it specifically say, everybody with an FHA mortgage will get this benefit.
Right.
I'm assuming if you are paying the high mortgage insurance, it's only fair that you would have to be
right,
able to
because
pay
I think
the loan.
currently, like if let's say your mortgage payment should be $1,500 a month. With your PMI, it's up to $1,800 or
Absolutely.
something. And that's a huge difference, especially if you're.
I was just doing the math
Yeah.
on a loan that says $250,000 in
Right.
outstanding debt. This change will save you $100 per mortgage payment. So that's $100 a month on your mortgage. That's a huge drop. That's a lot of money. It's $1,200 a year
on a $250,000.
on a $250,000 mortgage.
Okay, got it. Because you're still paying the PMI, which is
You're still paying the PMI.
Which
You're
probably
just
an extra
the PMI on a mortgage that's
200.
like 250 grand ends up being something like $270 a month.
That's what I'm saying. I'm close to 300.
Yeah.
So now
it's going to drop down to
so like
whatever.
170.
Yeah.
Is
You
what
just
you're
have
saying.
to do the math.
I mean,
so.
either way, a savings is savings.
Yeah.
I mean, that's definitely it makes a loan more
the
appealing.
way that they calculate what you pay for your mortgage insurance is they take the outstanding amount of your loan and they apply the equation of 1.35%.
We have some facts that have just
Yeah,
arrived at our desk.
Just like what I was saying, it says lower premiums will create an opportunity for 250,000 new home buyers to purchase more than 800,000 FHA borrowers are projected to take advantage of these lower rates in the first year, saving millions of dollars in total.
I see. We have video of President Obama departing. Live. Sorry, my bad. Did I say my bad on there? My apologies. President Obama departing Detroit right now. Some live video of that. So we can go ahead and continue talking about this while we show our viewers this live video out of Detroit. But yeah, to continue on this new FHA plan.
It sounds like it's going to be affecting anybody who has an FHA loan. But I'm to be honest, I've been in covering the housing market for in all the ups and downs that have happened here. I wouldn't say anything until I see it in writing.
Right. So this is the official release from the White House.
This is from the White House.
Right.
Yes.
Okay.
Talking about it and talking about the drop, that it will drop 0.5%. So, as I was saying earlier, if you have like an outstanding balance on your loan of 250 grand, the way that they figure out what your premium is, your mortgage insurance premium is, they apply that 1.35% to it, and then it's divided up, as you go, and pay down the mortgage. So it's going to save a lot of money for a lot of people. That's a big drop. I mean, if you have an $1,800 mortgage payment, it goes down to $1,700. Like you're happy about that.
You're
happy about that.
Help, because especially, you have to think about it from the mentality of, I think, of someone who is getting an FHA loan. There's a reason you chose to get an FHA loan. It's because you don't have the money to afford a regular loan, a regular down payment of 20%. So obviously you don't necessarily have the monthly income to just throw away $100, $200 there. I mean, everything can go towards your cable, your electricity, your car payments, your insurance. So even saving, $100 with this new plan is
a big savings.
A benefit. Yeah. But I am still fighting for the current FHA home loan.
I think that if they don't make this retroactive for FHA buyers, there probably will be a little bit of a revolt. I think there'll be some very upset people out there who have an FHA loan that want their discount.
Right.
Because if you're a solid buyer, you're paying your mortgage every month. I think most people understand why there's mortgage insurance.
Of course.
When you're shelling out $270 a month for it, you're like, wow, where's that money going? That's a lot of money.
It's not going towards your principal.
No, not at all. And you used to get a tax deduction for it, and I'm not sure if you still do, but I think that ended just recently. I'm not exactly sure though, so don't quote me on that. But this is a significant reduction in it. They say it's going to help. If you look at the release here, they estimate it's going to allow 250,000 new homeowners to purchase a home over the next 3 years. That's a lot.
I mean, okay, but here's the thing. It says lowered up premiums will create the opportunities for 250,000 new homeowners. What does that mean? It's creating the opportunities, whether those
because
250,000...
it makes the loan more affordable for them, is what they're saying.
So where are they getting this number from? I don't even...
How
do they know?
I'll ask the president tomorrow.
I'm really interested because, if you really get into the minute details of these press releases, things like lower premiums will create opportunities. It doesn't mean that there will be 250,000 new home buyers, but it's going to create the opportunity. So maybe it's creating the opportunity for 250,000 additional people with a certain income to afford a loan. I don't know.
FHA basically allows for people who can't get a conventional mortgage to get a mortgage with the 3.5% down. So these are typically people who don't have a lot of cash on hand, but lower income, but want to have a mortgage. And if you're going to go and make the calculations on, say, buying a house that is $150,000, they're going to calculate whether or not you can afford based on that old mortgage insurance formula.
Right.
So if they're calculating on the new one, it just might be enough to allow somebody else to get into a house that they want.
So that's what they mean by the opportunity. It's when they adjust it, there's 250,000 more people
who would be able to qualify. Yeah, because they don't look at whether you can qualify for the mortgage, for the interest and the principal payment. They look at you can qualify for the whole thing, the insurance and everything.
When you go shopping for a house, they might show you a house. It could be, let's say, $260,000, and the realtor, might not know what kind of loan you're getting. So they'll present to you your mortgage payment as something, and if you get an FHA loan, you might be stuck with the surprise of the mortgage insurance.
The premium,
when you're thinking your payment's $1,500 and suddenly it's close to $1,800, it's like, whoa, when did that? Well, I wasn't told that when I decided on this house.
Here's an interesting note here. It says that their historic norms have been 0.55%, so that's about half of 1%. So even at 0.85%, it's still higher than what they've been in the past, because FHA just got hammered when all the foreclosures were happening.
Oh,
because they then have to pay out to cover the mortgage if someone walks away from a house or loses their job and forecloses on a property.
Okay. So historically, we're still
higher.
Paying a lot.
But I don't think anyone is going to complain about saving 0.5% on that bill every month.
Right. So as of now.
So the question is then, what happens now? Like on your next mortgage payment, is it going to go down if it applies to everybody?
If it applies,
or is it just for people who get a loan, say, from a certain date forward? That's what I'm assuming he'll talk about tomorrow.
Right.
As I said before, if it doesn't affect all the others, it's going to be a lot of people marching into their lender demanding a new loan with the lower premiums.
Sure, of course. It's again, like I said, I think it's only fair.
I think I also read somewhere they said here it's going to save people billions of dollars a year. I think can't be. If you had an extra $100 a month, that's a good amount of money to spend on other things. Save $900 annually for all new FHA borrowers.
For all new, see, here's the thing. He just said all new FHA borrowers. Not he, the press release. So I'm concerned about this now.
Well,
I know he's trying. I understand that the White House is trying, and I applaud them on this, and making homes more affordable.
Okay, the FHA will reduce annual mortgage insurance premiums by 0.5 percentage point from 1.35% to 0.85%. For the typical first-time home buyer, this reduction will translate into a $900 mortgage. A $900 reduction in their annual mortgage. Existing homeowners who refinance into an FHA mortgage will see similar reductions to their mortgage payments as well.
Okay.
In total, this action will help millions of families save billions of dollars in mortgage payments in the coming years.
But right here, it's saying existing homeowners who refinance into an FHA
but see,
mortgage.
They could also be.
They could be regular loans.
They could have a regular loan with any other bank.
It's not saying
they could have a conventional mortgage and
have,
refinance into an FHA mortgage.
These are. I feel like there's some loophole. There's some.
Well, that is certainly a question that's going to be asked, because there are people all over the country who have FHA loans that have gotten loans over the past couple of years because FHA
between 2008, 2009, and now.
Mm-hmm. So they're going to want this break.
Right.
And they say the FHA has raised the amount 5 times since 2010. So it's gone from that low 0.5 percentage point area to 1.35 just over the past couple of years.
Right. Wow.
Well, if that's the case and you're looking to get a mortgage right now, you might want to wait a week or two.
That's the lesson of Andrew's report. I know you're working on this story. When you're going to have more details on the 5?
I'll have more from the school at 5 o'clock.
More on the school at 5. Actually,
and I'll be there.
This is not your story today.
No,
this is just what we
I'll
need to
be
talk about.
at the president's speech tomorrow.
You're one of the lucky ones that
yes,
gets in.
so I'll be there too early tomorrow morning to watch this happen. So.
All right. Well, you will be at Central High tomorrow. President Obama is expected to stay reportedly at the
Squaw Peak Hilton.
Squaw Peak Hilton,
That's
right. And I know that Linda was covering that story, so we're going to do a swap. Andrew for Linda. Tag out.
Tag out.
Welcome.
Thank
Miss
you.
Linda Williams.
How are you?
I'm great.
Good.
Good to see you. I would
Good seeing
normally
you.
have a full screen of us, but I wanted our viewers to make sure they didn't miss the president's departure from Detroit. So that is the video that we're showing our viewers right now.
Okay, we're just waiting for Air Force One to.
Yeah.
He hasn't boarded though, so
Nope,
they're just
I
waiting.
haven't seen him. So we
Okay.
are still waiting for him. He was scheduled to depart Detroit at 2:55 p.m. Phoenix time, and it's
he's
it's
due
about
here.
half an hour later. But he also started his speech 30 minutes late. So I mean, if everything is pushed back 30 minutes, he's scheduled to arrive here at 6:55 local time. That might turn into 7:25. I don't know, with the 30-40 minute delay. I mean, they'll obviously
Right.
pick up speed along the route, but you know, the president. He was late 30 minutes.
He's
so
the president. We
he
will
can do
be
it,
here
yeah,
waiting,
we'll-
even if he is late. And I'm telling you, this community, a lot of people in this community are very excited. Now, word is, and I say word is, we have not confirmed this, that he will be staying at the Point Hilton in Phoenix. That's at 16th Street and Glendale. But then I'm hearing rumors and whispers that no, he's not staying there. He's actually staying at the Arizona Biltmore.
In which, historically speaking, every president since Herbert Hoover has stayed there during their presidency.
And he has not yet.
And he hasn't. And so, you know, he could stay there today. There's speculation that he'd have to come back, or he'd just ruin
would.
a streak. And
And
people would be disappointed.
And I'm thinking, this is his 7th trip here. Don't quote me on that, but from what I can recall, it is his 7th trip here, and he is running out of time as president, so I honestly think it's quite possible they might do a switch up. I mean, all the preps were there. There were police cars in the parking lot. There were Secret Service agents reportedly at a nearby Mexican restaurant at
I want to show the viewer.
the Point
I know,
last night. Yeah, this is the view that you just showed of what they think he'll see.
Yeah.
As he pulls up to the Point, you see that white tent. Residents say that tent was not there yesterday. They got a memo saying, "Hey, our streets are going to be closed because of foreign dignitaries." This is inside Enchiladas Restaurant, which is right next to the Point Resort, where word is President Obama will stay, and they are so excited. They're hoping he strolls through. Historically, when presidents come through, President Clinton did it, President Bush did it, they will hit a Mexican food restaurant somewhere in town.
It is Arizona.
It is Arizona, and President Obama went to Macayo's last time. Just, the motorcade just stopped, and they pulled up, and there it was. So Enchiladas at the Point is hoping, please come, please come to our restaurant. We'd love, we've got the best enchilada in town, that kind of thing. But so we talked to the sisters who own the hotel, and they are just so excited to, not the hotel,
Right, so,
enchiladas.
So
They're
we
so excited
heard
to
the
have it
rumor.
come.
The rumor came from the Arizona Tourism Board. Is that where? I mean, that's what I heard. I don't know. It's a rumor,
one of those
though,
whisper
so I don't
things.
even know.
No, I don't know which
I
one.
heard it according to our Fox 10 Phoenix website.
Right. Well, then, and they will say reportedly
Right.
that he is staying at the Point Hilton at 16th Street, and then, they could pull a switch up and just put him at the Biltmore, and then no one knows where he is for security reasons.
Right. I mean,
So-
that would make sense too. Knowing where the president is staying, I feel like is almost too much access to the president.
Is this his motorcade now?
Yeah, these are live photos right now
As
of the
they
motorcade.
head to
Yep.
the airport in Detroit.
Yes.
Wow, they got snow on the
Beast.
ground. He'll be happy to be here.
So the thing is, they always travel with 2 versions of the Beast.
Right.
Is what I'm told, and along with up to 30 other vehicles, police units, all of that. It's this whole spectacle that causes the traffic on the streets because, we were talking about how big, how heavy duty his motorcade, how the Beast is just basically made of steel. Just everything about it.
It's a rolling tank. It's like a tank.
It's very heavy, and as
Yeah.
a result, the max speed I think is 60 miles per hour.
Wow.
And it gives 8 miles to the gallon
Oh
in
my
gas.
gosh.
Thankfully, gas prices are low here right
That's
now in Arizona,
right.
so
Yes.
you know what? Take the beast all over the state while you can.
It's on the taxpayer's dime anyhow. Yeah.
Oh no.
Yeah, well,
That's us.
it is. It is us. So
Yeah.
we should be happy that gas prices are lower
That's
since
true.
we're paying for it. Now, I did talk to one of the sisters who owned the restaurant.
Right.
Did we have that sound when we talked to?
Yeah, I know
Yeah.
that I can pull it up. I know that our. I think we're gonna wait until
Oh, we're
President
gonna wait
Obama,
until to see if
you know,
when he gets off.
when he takes off. This is, always watching him, exit the vehicle.
You called it a
walk up-
spectacle, and it actually
It is.
really
That's
is.
what it is. This whole production. That is every presidential. Anytime he goes anywhere, it's a production.
And
the
do you know why?
streets are closed.
Have you ever seen Air Force One in person?
No, I do. No, I haven't.
I'm not an airplane geek, but Mark Martinez, my co-anchor on
Yeah.
weekends, is.
No,
he's
I
kind of
thought
a buff.
I was wondering where he was because I was like, I need to bring Mark up because I know he likes planes.
He's a total buff, but he says it's not just a plane. To see it in person, it is awe-inspiring. Whatever your politics, you will see Air Force One, and you will feel a sense of power, a sense of patriotism, a sense of loyalty. He said there's just something special about it. It's a special color blue. There's no other color blue that's painted the Air Force One blue, and all kinds of special things. Is that what we call the beast?
That is the beast.
He will probably
That's
sprint
one of the
lightly
beasts,
from
yeah.
shortly?
Yeah, we are just waiting for him to exit and then go up the steps. So is it typical? I mean, I've noticed it. I don't know if this is a thing, but he always, once he gets to the very top step, he turns, he does his wave, and then
Yes.
goes. Has he ever missed it? He's just very methodical with everything.
There he
does.
goes. That little jog up the stairs that he's really become famous for, and the jog down the stairs.
Right.
People talk.
Wait, this is.
And
There it is.
we will see you shortly, Mr. President. We'll see you in about
That was the
3
wave
hours.
I'm talking about. Yeah, no, he is, again, scheduled to arrive in Phoenix at 6:55 p.m., but that was also assuming that he left Detroit about 40 minutes ago, so he might get here a little later. For those of you who are traveling on the streets, if he is staying up at the
Point Hilton. Yeah, right,
Hilton
at Squaw Peak.
Squaw Peak Resort, then I would avoid
24th Street.
I would avoid the 51.
Heading north as
right,
well.
Right, and just, find some side streets.
And if he stays at the Biltmore, then the 24th Street and Camelback area, 24th Street in Missouri,
Right.
is going to be his
Because the thing is, they don't just they block off a lot of areas anytime a president enters a town. It's not just his travel route. It's a lot of
And flight restrictions as well.
Right.
Skyfox, we have certain restrictions in terms of we can't just follow the motorcade into
Sure.
the Biltmore or into the Squaw Peak Resort Point, wherever he goes. There's a restriction there, so Skyfox will be positioned outside of that area, and then they'll clear it once he is safely wherever he is.
And speaking of flight restrictions, if anyone is traveling into Sky Harbor or departing, I remember being at an airport once and being grounded because Air Force One was there. I saw it in the distance, but they're holding you until the president gets in and out.
Absolutely.
So your flight might be delayed or.
Yeah, so pay attention if you are heading to the airport,
Right.
inbound, outbound, whatever flights. Just
So you're going
make
to
a
be
call.
delayed if you're out there.
You just might. You absolutely might. And a lot of people are excited, of course. It's interesting that he's coming back again to discuss housing. He was here in August of 2013. Same issue. And it
Yeah.
was housing, affordability, home ownership, to same kind of crowd, though, a high school, very friendly
Which high
crowd.
school was he here?
He was in a high school in Mesa.
Okay.
He was at Desert Vista in Ahwatukee, and then he headed east and went to Mesa as well, and went to a plant there. But it was Desert Vista High School. So same topic. A little over a year later, it's interesting to see him come back again for the same thing. It'll also be interesting to see his relationship when he lands in Phoenix. We're assuming newly elected Arizona Governor Doug Ducey.
Right, he's expected to.
Who was just sworn in, will be on the tarmac whatever time he does arrive. And he had an interesting relationship with outgoing Governor Jan Brewer. It'll be interesting to see the dynamic and the relationship that these two men have, and whether they'll be friendlier rather than frosty.
I think it's probably just a very quick kind of handshake. I know. I mean, from what I've read, they're not going to be spending too much time together. This might be their first official meeting.
Their first official meeting, I believe.
Oh, well, I guess we lost that video, so I'm going to, go back to us.
Okay, so wheels up for Air Force One, as they say, and he'll be wheels down in Phoenix in about 3 hours, and then let the games begin here in Phoenix.
Oh, right. And so you actually mentioned some sound earlier from the
just
owners.
How excited everybody is.
So yeah,
They are tickled to actually have him coming, and they hope he'll hit enchiladas and come to a local restaurant here.
Where is it? Okay. One moment.
She actually has a box of cereal that says Obama Pops on it that she is hoping he will sign. She first got it. Her name is, a family owns Enchilada, family owned all these years. I think it's kind of such an interesting tradition that presidents actually make it their business to stop at a Mexican food restaurant,
right.
No matter how, I think the tinier and the more of a hole in the wall it is, the better.
No, that's so true. I feel like when you're getting authentic Mexican food, it should be at a real taco stand. It's like
that's almost what President Clinton went to. It was almost a taco stand.
So that's what you should get. Those are the most authentic. I mean, yes, the nice fancy Mexican restaurants are great to go to.
Right.
But when you're in a place like Phoenix or like Los Angeles, San Diego, you want authentic. I mean, I'm not saying the nice restaurants aren't authentic, but there's something just very, I don't know, it just feels
You also can't, when you're president, you can't just show up. The Secret Service has to come through, clear that restaurant. Even when I'm told President Obama ate at Macayo's last time, the waitress who took his order and served him had to be cleared through Secret Service.
Like, it's a full background check and everything.
Well, she's handling his food,
That's true.
Someone's making his food and handing it to him, and they are all over that. It's not like he just walks in and orders plate number 2 and gets it. But this is how excited everyone is. This is one of the women who owns Enchiladas talking about her Obama O's cereal and how excited she is to have him coming.
I bought these when Obama ran for office for the first time, and my girlfriend worked at a advertising agency, so they only made 500 of them. This is 162 out of 500, and I'm very proud of them.
Are you hoping to get him to sign them?
That would be fantastic.
What are the chances he'll just come strolling in for an enchilada?
I hope he comes in for an enchilada. It would be the best enchilada in town, and I think he'll be here tonight.
So she is really excited, and she claims it's the best enchilada in town.
She thinks he's going to come strolling in for an enchilada. Last night they said there were several secret agents, they called them. She's talking about Secret Service. Several Secret Service people there last night at Enchiladas. I said, were they here socially or were they on business, actually sweeping the place and checking for security and looking at, exits and entrances and that kind of thing when they sweep a place for security? She says they were doing both. It could happen, but I don't know. I'm thinking, I think they're kind of doing a sleight of hand here. He may end up at the Arizona Biltmore. We'll have to see. We'll keep a...
But then the woman who owned the restaurant's going to be so disappointed and sad.
Oh, I think she's getting plenty of publicity out of this. She is so excited and loving this so much.
I mean, but wouldn't you, I'm sure she wants Obama to sign her box of cereal.
And we've already cleared it. If indeed he does come and eat there tonight, you can bet Fox 10 will be there tomorrow because I already cleared it. I said, if he does come here tonight, we can come back and talk to the server and all that kind of stuff.
What did he eat? Did he like it? Who was his server? All the details.
And how much did he tip? We get all details.
So do they not let anyone else in the restaurant when the president is dining there? Does he just have to dine by himself, or do other patrons get to sit and eat around him?
When he stopped at Macayo's, he went to a room that was in the back, just walked in, but it wasn't as if he was segregated from the other diners. But it's not like he was going to sit right next to you.
So when he walked through, people saw him walking through that.
Yes, and they freaked out. But see, and Twitter will light up. We will know. If he eats Mexican food somewhere out here publicly, we'll know. Anyone on social media, news,
we'll be covering
You'll have it. Twitter will have it. Fox 10 News will have it. So we'll know. Excited to find out, and I'm excited, if he shows up at Enchiladas, a local place.
Right, so you'll have more on that story tonight at 5?
Absolutely,
5
yes.
and 6? And
yes, we're talking about where in the world Where in the world is President Obama? We'll play it that way.
Where is Obama?
Which resort? Where is he spending the night?
Well, thanks for joining me, Linda. And all you viewers, thanks so much for watching us. As always, if you want to tune in and get all your live updates on Fox 10 News Now, make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. That's youtube.com/Fox10Phoenix. And we will have more on President Obama's visit to Phoenix on the 5 p.m. newscast. And we will have he will have his arrival here in Phoenix streamed live here on Fox 10 News Now. We're thinking 6:55 p.m. Could be a little later, but make sure you tune in right then because we will have it for you live. Thanks for watching.